What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. As an entrepreneur in this very strange and magical land of online businesses, I like to at least sometimes consume some content that offers advice and feedback for how to be a successful entrepreneur. And I've noticed almost universally there's a piece of advice that you not do this solo. The idea is that if you want to grow and scale your business, you need to work on your business instead of in your business. You need to delegate things out, hire employees in order to truly be an entrepreneur and succeed, or else, you're not going to make it. And it seems from my perspective, at least, that not only are my businesses thriving, but I'm also really happy and satisfied in my career. And I've also been doing this online business thing solo for 5.5 years now. So it feels relatively sustainable as well. So even though I think most people probably wouldn't thrive as a solopreneur or even an entrepreneur for that matter, I imagine there must be at least some people who are similar enough to me that they would thrive as a solopreneur. So if you do a simple Google search of whether it's a good idea to be a solopreneur or not, you're gonna get all kinds of headlines saying that it's a bad idea. And so I thought it might be an interesting structure for this week's episode to read one of these articles that's saying it's not a good idea to do your business solo and just kind of react to each of their bullet points that they name for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur. So one of the titles that caught my eye in the Google search is called Why You Should Not Be a Solopreneur. That felt very direct. So I figured this might be a good article to just run through their primary bullet points for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur and just respond to each of them. Okay, the number one reason that they give is you are your biggest roadblock. Quote, since you are the only person involved in the business and have to handle each of the tasks yourself, if you do not do some work, then it won't be done at all. I would say for most people, this is the biggest roadblock to entrepreneurship in general. It doesn't matter how many employees you have to be incredibly self-motivated to keep your business going. And for me personally, I am incredibly self-motivated. If I have a passion that I am pursuing, I am so capable of overworking myself into the ground to pursue that passion. My growth edge is learning how to rein in my motivation so I don't neglect the other things that I also value. Okay, and the next reason they give for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur is separation of personal and business finances is difficult. This particular item has just not even been on my radar at all. Anytime I've started a new business, which I've only done this twice now with my therapy practice and private practice skills, as soon as I have money go out or come in, immediately I open a new bank account just for that business, and I do not do any overlaps. That bank account is its own dedicated entity. I do not perceive that as my personal finances. I perceive that as my business's finances, and that business will hold back taxes that I pay out quarterly. That business will offer me a paycheck. I make sure that that business has enough savings so that just in case there's a slow month or anything like that, I have plenty of resources in case of emergency. They even say in their elaboration, quote, but mixing of finances is inevitable as solopreneur and often leads to legal hassles. In my mind, this isn't inevitable at all. You just keep really good boundaries, keep your finances separate between your business and your personal finances, and you're good. And the third reason they give for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur is that it can be exhausting. The idea is that you're wearing a gazillion hats, all the hats that are relevant to your business, and you're gonna get exhausted because you're constantly having to switch from one hat to the other, cover so many different things, and kind of multitask. And for me, the workaround that I've chosen, whether it's the best workaround or not, is that I keep my focus on a very limited range of tasks. What are the things that matter the most to keep this business running and thriving and aligned with my values? And what things do I not have to do? This is what's important to me right now. I'm just going to focus on this. And there's a bunch of stuff going on that I am completely out of touch with, and I just have to be okay with that. The next reason they give for why you should not be a solopreneur is lack of collaboration. You don't have any employees, you don't have any team members, people to bounce ideas off of, and so it's easy to kind of get in a rut. For me, up until when I started working for myself, I struggled so much working on teams. That's not my strength. Usually I end up being the person who feels resentful that I feel like I'm doing most of the work, or that other people are going much slower than the speed that I would like to work at. For me, it's a total gift that I can work for myself. And the next reason that they give for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur is that things can get extremely lonely. I mean, that sounds familiar. A lot of people talk about that for therapists in general. Personally, I am so not lonely. I so enjoy having that time. Now, with that said, I absolutely need social support, and I do not do well if I feel like I cannot access social support. I have a very robust support system. They're just not people that I know through my business. The next reason they give for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur is that experiencing failure can be overwhelming as a solopreneur. And I definitely agree with that bullet point. Like, when you fail, you are the sole reason for why it's happened. It's not like you can go blame your boss or like your team member or your employee. You did this. But usually for me, the thing that can feel like a failure is if I created something that feels like it doesn't quite jive with my values or my purpose and why I'm trying to create that item. If, I make a video and not very many people watch it, or, I try to sell something and doesn't have many sales, that one doesn't bother me as much. Probably because I make enough of a paycheck from all the other things that I'm doing that if one item flops, it's not going to make or break, my income. So that's a note on diversifying your income, which is not what this video is about, but that makes it a lot easier for me to stomach when something flops on my business. And the next reason they give for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur is lack of resources. And reading through this, I think they're referring primarily to financial resources, which I could absolutely see being an issue. Though again, whether you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur with a bunch of employees, like that could still happen regardless. When I started Private Practice Skills, I assumed that I wouldn't make any income for quite a long time. I made a choice to do all my private practice skills on the side of my full-time job. And I didn't buy anything for private practice skills until I made money that I could use to buy those things. I have never had an issue in the 5.5 years of private practice skills and in my almost 10 years of running my therapy practice where my business account did not have the money sitting in it that was needed to not only cover my business expenses, but also pay my bills. Okay, and the next reason they give for why you shouldn't be a solopreneur is lack of validation. They say, quote, "The reason why teams tend to produce better results than individuals is because each member can validate or improve the ideas of the others." Though quickly I'll say to that, it's definitely possible to get feedback as a solopreneur. I mean, I'm in a mastermind of fellow female psychologist entrepreneurs. We'll bounce ideas off of each other in that group and get the validation or, new ideas that we might need. I will say for me, when I'm on a team, I generally feel like my ideas are invalidated because usually what I want to do is not the stuff that most people advise or that's generally recommended. And that's true about business and marketing and branding as well. I just do things differently than the status quo. I just kind of have gone on my own and done it my own way. And for me, it's ended up making me feel really validated because now I just get to do the thing that I always wanted to do rather than feeling perpetually held back by red tape, invalidation, people saying that my idea is not going to work, not a good idea. Whether it's actually a good idea or not, it's more enjoyable for me, at least this way as a solopreneur. And the last reason that they give why you shouldn't be a solopreneur is that it's not for everyone. I mean, I don't know if I love that as a bullet point in general of like why you shouldn't do something. It's like, well, yeah, but it's for someone. Maybe if you were curious, you can explore enough to see if that someone is you or not. And they go on to name some characteristics of who solopreneurship is not for. It's not ideal for those who cannot multitask. Actually, I disagree with that one. I very rarely multitask. I don't have like team members pinging me all the time, and I hear my clients in their kind of corporate type jobs getting pinged constantly from coworkers, bosses, etc., and you never get to actually work on the thing that you want to work on. I get what they're saying because you have to wear so many hats, but I just block the time for what hat I'm wearing that day. And then not ideal for those who do not like taking risks. Yes, and I would say that's true about entrepreneurship in general. I don't see that being very specific to being a solopreneur. I noticed as I ran through this list that in my mind there was something that popped up several times for many of the bullet points is, just how high risk it is, how stressful it could be, and all of that. And I noticed for me, it's not stressful and it doesn't feel very high risk. And I think for me, a big reason why that's the case is I have diversified my income personally, just within my business, so much. Overall, my income has been so stable. Like when you have 15 different streams of income and one of them disappears, you're probably gonna be okay. Even with all of that said, we weren't always in the financially cushy spot that we're in now. And even back then, when it felt like, we were really making sure we were staying in a tight budget, I never really felt like I was taking that much of a risk with some of my business ideas. It just felt like I'm going to do this on the side of some other stable support financially. And then as this side thing generates more income, I can lean on that more and more. And then I can just keep taking risks on the side. So if that risk falls through, no harm done. We're already living off of this other income anyway. That's my perspective. All right, my battery's about to die, so it's time to close this video. I hope you found this helpful. If you're thinking about being a solopreneur, explore it. Explore the pros and the cons. It might not be the best fit for most people, but it is a good fit for some people, and it could be worth exploring whether you're one of those people. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform and so much more. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. While I sure enjoyed making this video, it felt a little more chit-chatty than usual, sharing my thoughts and my feelings. I'd be curious to hear in the comments if you relate with anything that I said, or maybe you don't relate. And most importantly, I hope you find whatever path in your career is the best fit for you, which looks different for everyone, and I love that. Until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.